You're next. Imagine seeing those words flash across your screen, knowing they weren't a joke. What would you do if you found yourself pulled into the darkest corners of the internet, where the lines between victim, observer, and mastermind blur into a chilling game? Alicia thought she was just researching human behavior online, but one encrypted email dragged her into a twisted experiment. A world of secret rooms, life or death performances, and an audience that controls it all. By the end of this story, you'll discover the horrifying truth behind the observers, and why no one, not even you, is safe from their reach. Are you ready to face what's hiding behind the screen? Alicia steps into the hospital's psychiatric wing, the air thick with an unshakable mix of sterility and quiet despair. Her routine is unchanging but far from mundane, confronting lives weighed down by invisible burdens every single day. Among her colleagues, one stands out: the revered doctor, Marcus Fielding. His reputation for unearthing the most tangled webs of the human psyche has made him a sought-after expert. Patients flock to his office, but one, in particular, catches Alicia's attention. A striking woman with platinum hair and flawless poise, a model she's certain she's seen on billboards. She visits often, always slipping through the waiting area like a shadow. Alicia has noticed, but never pried. Everyone's fighting their own demons, she reminds herself as she scribbles notes on yet another case file. The hospital is a microcosm of modern struggles. Most days, Alicia sits across from patients haunted by social media. Young adults paralyzed by the need for validation, older patients grieving the lives they never lived, and everyone in between, drowning in comparisons. After hours of listening and prescribing, Alicia retreats to her shared office, scrolling through her own feeds with detached numbness. And then one evening, a peculiar email lands in her inbox. The subject line reads, "A room beyond comprehension." Alicia frowns at the cryptic title but clicks out of curiosity. Inside, the email contains only a single line. "Enter the depths, Alicia. The truth you seek begins here." Below it, a hyperlink pulses faintly. Days pass, but the email lingers in her mind like a stubborn ghost. Over coffee one evening, she decides to bring it up with Caleb, her closest confidant, a tech-savvy intern with a penchant for conspiracy theories. Alicia places her mug on the desk and leans closer, whispering, "Caleb, have you ever heard of red rooms?" Caleb's brows shoot up, his tone equal parts intrigue and apprehension as he replies, "Urban legend. People claim they're live-streamed torture chambers, but no one's ever proven they exist." Alicia exhales slowly, relieved but not entirely convinced. Caleb chuckles nervously, adding, "Why? Did you get an invite or something?" She shakes her head, masking her unease. "No, just curious." That night, Alicia sits at her desk, the email still open on her screen. Her finger hovers over the link, heart racing. Her logical mind screams to delete it, but a whisper in her psyche urges her to click. Her final thought before the screen flickers and her world shifts irrevocably. This isn't just curiosity. This is a choice. Alicia stares at the screen, her fingers trembling on the keyboard. What began as a surreal curiosity has spiraled into something far darker, a series of live-streamed horrors disguised as psychological experiments. Each broadcast is labeled simply Control Test X or Behavioral Test Y. The victims are thrust into unimaginable situations, rooms rigged with elaborate traps, psychological tormentors, or even their deepest fears brought to life. The twisted genius behind it becomes clear when she notices a logo flash briefly in the corner of the screen during one broadcast. It belongs to Nexacore, a tech conglomerate infamous for its data mining practices. Hours turn into days, and Alicia finds herself unable to look away. Victim after victim, she observes their fates with a growing sense of dread. Some faces seem hauntingly familiar, perhaps patients from her hospital or influencers she's seen online. She watches in silence, torn between pity and horror. Would I do any better? She wonders. But then the latest victim appears, and Alicia freezes. Her voice cracks as she whispers to herself, "No, it can't be." The screen displays the familiar figure of the silver-haired model she's seen so many times in Dr. Fielding's office. The test begins. The model is strapped to a chair, her wrists bound with metallic clamps. A soft voice echoes through the room, calm and detached. "You are free to leave. But first, solve the equation projected on the wall. You have 3 minutes." The equation is incomprehensibly complex, glowing in red against the cold white walls. The model struggles, her breathing shallow as she scribbles on a notepad provided. Her efforts grow frantic, and Alicia can't help but scream at the screen, "It's a trap, stop!" But the countdown reaches 0. A deafening alarm blares, and the walls of the room begin to close in slowly, mercilessly. The screen cuts to black. Alicia pushes her chair away, heart pounding. She presses her palms against her face, as if trying to block out what she's just seen. Why her? Why any of them? Determined to find a pattern, Alicia begins to analyze every case she's watched. Each victim's background flashes before her eyes. The influencer obsessed with perfection, the entrepreneur with crippling paranoia, the recluse with severe agoraphobia. They all share one thing in common, a history of mental vulnerabilities meticulously documented in public and private records. Then it hits her like a freight train. The criteria for selection, it's us. Patients she's treated, people she's helped document, data she's unknowingly contributed to. A cold sweat breaks out as realization dawns. The email she received wasn't just an invitation, it was the first step in her entrapment. Her thoughts spiral as paranoia grips her. Alicia whispers to herself, pacing frantically, "Am I next? Have they already been watching me?" Her eyes dart to the corners of her apartment, her mind conjuring images of hidden cameras. Every sound outside her door feels amplified. Footsteps in the hallway, the creak of a neighbor's floorboards. What happens when the email turns into a knock at the door? Alicia's breaths come in short, panicked gasps. She sits down, clutching her head, as her mind fractures under the weight of dread. Her final coherent thought before darkness envelops her is, "How do I escape something that's been inside my life all along?" Alicia's fingers hover over the keyboard, sweat slicking her palms. The words on the screen blur as she types into the encrypted chat room. "Why are you doing this? Don't you see what you've become?" A reply pings back almost immediately. "It's necessary. You wouldn't understand. I'm in the system now, aren't I? You're coming for me. I have the right to know why." There's a long pause. Alicia leans forward, her breath caught in her throat. Another message pops up. "Not all of us agree. Some of us want out." Her heart skips. "Then help me. I can't do this alone. They'll kill us both if we try. You don't know what you're asking. I'm already dead if I stay quiet, are you?" A sudden flurry of messages explodes in the chat room, a heated debate between unseen participants. "Stop this now, she's baiting you. And you're a coward. We were supposed to observe, not destroy. Both of you shut up. She's still reading this." Alicia watches, her pulse pounding in her ears, as the tension within the group becomes palpable. Finally, a private message pings into her inbox. "Fine. I'll help. But you need to do exactly as I say." Hours pass in a blur as Observer 14 guides her deeper into the hidden layers of the Red Room's infrastructure. The rooms aren't just experiments. They're data pipelines, behavioral patterns, stress responses, fear thresholds. It all feeds into an AI. Why? Who's behind it? Look up Nexacore. Then ask yourself why your patients keep disappearing. Alicia's hands tremble as she opens her laptop and accesses the hospital's private database. She scans through patient files. Missing persons, unclosed cases, abrupt transfers. One name leaps off the screen. Dr. Marcus Fielding. The confrontation unfolds in his office late at night. Fielding looks up from his desk, the dim light casting deep shadows across his face. Alicia, I wondered when you'd piece it together. You're selling them. Our patients. You're feeding them to that machine. Fielding leans back, unbothered, his tone almost amused. They signed waivers, Alicia. You think healing the mind doesn't come at a price? Nexacore funds everything. Without them, this hospital wouldn't even exist. Alicia slams her hands on his desk, her voice rising. Don't you dare justify this. They're human beings. They're statistics. And soon, so are you. The room seems to close in around her, Fielding's words echoing in her ears. She glances toward the door, locked. Her phone buzzes in her pocket. A message from Observer 14. Run. Now. The finality of those words strikes Alicia like a hammer. With no time to think, she bolts for the emergency exit, Fielding's voice chasing her through the corridors. You can't escape this, Alicia. You're already part of the system. Alicia's pulse races as she pieces it together. The escape plan, the private messages, even Observer 14's betrayal. It all falls into place like jagged shards of a shattered mirror. I'm the observer this time. The realization sends her spiraling into memories she's fought to bury. A young Alicia huddled under a table, flinching at the sound of shattering glass. Her father's voice, booming, slurred, pierces through the walls, while her mother sobs in the corner. Weeks later, the silence. A deafening void. Her mother's lifeless body on the bathroom floor. Alicia was 10 when she moved in with her aunt. A new city, a new school, and long, silent drives to this very hospital. The doctors here had stitched together her broken mind, but they had also kept her records. Records that now chained her to the red rooms. Back in the present, Alicia sits in the dim glow of her screen, staring at the live feed. The latest victim, a trembling teenage boy, sits blindfolded in the center of the room. Blades and wires glint under cold, clinical lighting. A timer ticks down. 5 minutes. Do something, anything. Alicia opens the chat for the observers. Her fingers hover, trembling. Stop this. Let him go. That's not your decision. Observe or disconnect. She switches to another screen, feverishly scanning through the network's backend. A hidden folder catches her eye, labeled simply Origins. The files are a goldmine of horror. Footage of victims, emails between Nexacore executives, schematics for a neural interface designed to program new observers, and a chilling manifesto. The world thrives on chaos. Fear drives progress. Our task is to cultivate the fearless, those who will watch and accept. Humanity's next step isn't compassion, it's detachment. Alicia freezes, her breath catching. The red rooms weren't about predicting behavior, they were creating it. The timer on the live feed beeps. 0. No! The room spins as Alicia grapples with the choice ahead. She can stay silent, becoming part of their machine, or she can fight back. But fighting means risk, death, exposure, obliteration. She chooses. Alicia uploads the files to every corner of the web, anonymous forums, social media, journalists' inboxes. She leaves nothing untouched, exposing the red rooms and Nexacore for the monsters they are. But the backlash is swift. News anchors dismiss her as a lunatic. Her face plasters headlines with the words fraud and hoax. The observers release doctored footage of her in the rooms, painting her as a willing participant. The world turns its back. Alicia goes underground, hunted by both the observers and the authorities. She finds solace in fleeting moments, destroying servers, erasing networks, chipping away at their empire. But the net tightens. The final scene unfolds in an abandoned warehouse. Alicia, clutching a laptop, uploads one last virus into the Red Room's mainframe. Footsteps echo behind her. "You've done enough, Alicia. This ends now." She turns, defiance burning in her eyes. "It ends when I say it does." A gunshot shatters the silence. Alicia collapses, her lifeblood pooling around her. As her vision fades, her laptop screen flickers. Upload complete. And then darkness. Days later, whispers ripple through the internet. The Red Rooms are gone. Nexicor's stocks plummet. Anonymous groups rally around Alicia's name, dubbing her a martyr for truth. But for Alicia, there is only silence. Weeks pass, and the world seems unchanged. The news cycles quickly forget Alicia's revelations, dismissing them as the ramblings of a paranoid mind. But in the shadows of the digital world, her sacrifice has planted seeds of rebellion. Small activist groups begin to dismantle Nexicor's empire piece by piece. Anonymous hackers leak internal documents, whistleblowers come forward, and a movement begins to take shape. They call themselves the Witnesses, in honor of Alicia. They silenced her, but they couldn't silence the truth. The Red Rooms are gone, but their puppeteers still pull the strings. We won't stop until every string is cut. Meanwhile, rumors circulate about Alicia's final act. Some say she left behind a failsafe, a code buried deep within the Red Room's infrastructure. A program designed not just to destroy, but to reveal. Weeks later, Nexicor's systems crash worldwide. Billboards, websites, and digital ads display a single message. "Alicia was here, do you see it now?" For a moment, the world pauses, and then outrage. Protesters flood the streets demanding answers. Investors flee, Nexicor's power crumbles, and the Red Rooms are no more. In a quiet park miles away from the chaos, a woman sits on a bench, her face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. She watches children play, their laughter ringing through the air. Her lips curl into a faint smile before she vanishes into the crowd. The world believes Alicia is dead, but perhaps, just perhaps, her story is not yet over. Red Rooms, are they just urban legends, or is there a darker truth we can't ignore? What do you think? If you've ever come across stories or experienced something that made you question what's real, share it in the comments. Your voice could help uncover the truth. And don't forget, subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into the shadows. Like this video if it opened your eyes, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Let's keep this conversation alive, because silence is how the darkness wins.